What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I got 170,000 plus points on the Forgotten City EX, which we received in conjunction with the release of Act 2 Chapter 1. So a quick disclaimer guys, that this video is not the only way for you to get the 170,000 points. This video is basically just showing you my mindset on the fight and probably giving you tips here and there. Because this is not the usual style of my videos, just like my previous videos when it comes to these kinds of events, they've always been play-by-play. I've been trying to do two different formats when it comes to giving you guys a video guide. Basically, when it comes to, if you're new here, basically what this means is during character events and lost chapters, I do try to make the format where I list down abilities, weaknesses, and some tips or some guide, some sort of guide in there, all packed through in a easy format. When it comes to these kinds of events, I prefer to go through it play by play, and so you guys can see the mindset I have. And honestly, some of you actually like this type of videos and ask me to do this type of videos instead of by listing down, but other people like that format as well. So I suppose you can't really have the best in both worlds. I just don't have the time to do two different kinds of videos for one event. So in any case, I think I've rambled on too much. Let's get on with this video. For this fight, I have brought Beatrix, Kacet, Vaughn with the Ifrit summon, and Lael as my support character. There's a lot of Lael support characters now, and almost all my friends list are actually Lael, which is, I suppose it's okay when it comes to EX fights, but I do prefer when I'm grinding to have Squall in there. So. But in any case, my Beatrix does have her EX and Vaughn has his EX as well. For the summon, I do prefer Ifrit, and actually I think Ifrit is probably the best choice here. Obviously Bahamut can be used as well, but overall I feel like Ifrit is probably the best summon because most of them have weakness to fire. So this is going to be a three-wave fight. The first one is you're going to be fighting the Commander Beast and the Worker Beast. Now, quickly, just to let you guys know that the bosses that we are going to be fighting in this EX fight, we have actually fought them before. Now, I can't remember what character event they were from, but definitely we have faced them before. I do remember fighting the Commander Beast. I just can't remember the but I mean I can actually look it up, but that's just gonna waste time for you guys. Any case, for this particular wave, you do want to have some AoE damage. For this one, I do have Kacet, but Kacet can be replaced. Obviously, Selfie is another debuffer, and you can actually use Squall here as well. I do believe his splash damage is really great. Or the other option is to actually use a Tidus support with his EX. Basically what that means is when you switch to Tidus, you use his EX and pretty much will, if they have a decent amount of Brave, will pretty much remove all the Worker Beasts. So now you only have to concentrate on the Commander Beast, which is really great because you really want to kill the Commander Beast before it resummons the Worker Beast. So honestly, I'm gonna tell you guys, if the Commander Beast actually summons the Worker Beast, you might as well just restart the fight. If you are actually aiming for the 170,000 points, because those are extra turns that you don't really want to use up. They're pretty important to make your turn count as low as possible. Other than that, I really have no other tips for this fight. So let's go ahead and skip to the second wave, which is going to be fighting two Night Behemoths. Again, we have faced off with the Night Behemoth before. Unfortunately, I just can't remember where. So for this one, they do have quite a lot of weaknesses. The Night Behemoth has a weakness to Thunder elements and Wind elements. So Beatrix will do great here, and Vaughn's will do great here as well with his Whirlwind. So you do have the advantage of two element weaknesses, and it doesn't have any resistance as well. So the main thing with this one is actually trying to avoid the ult attack. So you want to kill them as quick as possible. Now they don't actually have a lot of HP, which is great, and you can debuff them as well. They are immune to some of the debuffs, I believe. I just don't remember on top of my head, but they do have a low amount of HP, so you can definitely take them down as quick as possible. Honestly, between the three waves, this is probably the easiest wave. And I forgot to mention earlier, but you don't have to really save up all your abilities towards the end, because this is a three-wave fight. You can just starter step yourself into it. Personally, I do about 2 to 3, maybe even 4 abilities per wave for each character. You probably will save a lot if you have Kate Sith as well, because you can actually use just his brave attack just to gain some brave, and you save the Mog Dance for later. Alright, so that's basically the second wave. The third wave is going to be against Cavalier, which I believe we have fought before as well, I do remember it, and the Greatest Malboro. Now, the biggest impact to me here is the Greatest Malboro. I know of the Greatest Malboro because I do believe it is from Kuja's character event. I remember this because I think it was the first EX fight we had, and it was one of the hardest fights that I can remember. So the Greatest Malboro does leave an impact with me. And the Cavalier, who was it? I kind of remember the Cavalier, and I was using Cloud for that particular fight, but which character event was that? I can't seem to remember. So I do believe it's Garnet's character event, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. So the Cavalier has a weakness to Ice Element. Unfortunately, I don't really have an Ice Element attacker here, but if you do want some Ice Element attackers, you do have Cater, you have Papalimo as well, which is really nice to have. Snow, if you really want a tank for this fight, the really great one as well. I think that's all I can think of on top of my head at the moment. And the Greatest Malboro has quite a few weaknesses, quite a lot actually. So it has a fire weakness, thunder weakness, holy and dark weaknesses as well. But it does have resistance to ice, so just make sure that you're not attacking it with the ice elements. You're attacking the ice elements using on the Cavalier instead. And the Greatest Malboro has a resistance to earth elements as well. Now Vaughn here, obviously with his red spiral, has an ice element to the secondary attack, so try not to use it on the Greatest Malboro. However, if you're trying to save your Whirlwind for the Cavalier, because the Cavalier is basically the biggest DPS in this fight, and the Malboro is like the debuffer, so you have to choose which one to kill first. Personally, I like to get rid of the Malboro first. I always like to get rid of the Malboro first. You don't really want to deal with the debuffs. However, if you really want to deal with that, you can try and push it off with your buffs, but again, that's a wasted turn. So I feel like just killing off the Greatest Malboro is the easiest way to go. So for this particular fight, I still had like 4 Thunder Slashes, and I'm gonna go ahead and try and kill the Greatest Malboro. Now I'm saving my summon here for basically when, you know, it's gonna be my turn versus the my last turn basically, and of course summon Ifrit here with Lael. Now personally, if I had a choice, if the turn was in a different order, I would use Lael and then use the what's his attack, the field burst, and if I had another extra character, that's when I was actually gonna use the summon. So it's just gonna be on preference for you guys, or the next time Lael gets his turn. Personally, that's the ideal, I suppose, the ideal scenario, but in this case that didn't happen, so I just ended up using Lael and using the summon with the field burst. And one good thing having Beatrix and Kate here, I know they try and push off their buffs between themselves, but the great combination here basically in this particular scenario is with the Lael support is I can use Saint Cloth, get as much Brave back, and then it's going to be Lael's turn, and then energy gain, get the max Brave, and then use HP attack on the chase. Now I do believe I made some mistakes here that I didn't end up launching the enemy. However, I'm more than happy with the result here. So again, Mog Dance just to push off the defensive buffs because I want the offensive buffs, and there you go, huge damage, and then I can do another chase on the greatest Malboro. So this is really great. Turned out okay in my opinion for this particular scenario. So I do believe I felt like, okay, worst case scenario here is basically I'll get debuff, and luckily he is targeting Lael as well. Now other ways to avoid the debuff is actually inflicting blind on the greatest Malboro, and blind will actually help with the Cavalier as well, because if he misses his attack, then the less likely you'll get HP damage as well. So blind is an important factor, however it is based on RNG, so just be mindful of that. Vaughn is great with the blind, and I used Waka here before as well. I didn't get the 170,000 points, but I definitely dodged a bullet basically, which would have ended the fight straight away. So I was lucky with that. So you can definitely bring Waka. So other things you can do is actually put a attack down debuff. I actually used Vincent here prior as well, and man, that is great. Barely did any brave damage to me. So that was one of the first mistakes here. Basically that energy drain a bit. I mean, you know, what do you do? What I could have done is maybe attack the greatest Malboro with Kate Sid instead, but yeah. And here's another big mistake I did, which was actually use HP damage on the greatest Malboro there. It was already there. There was no point in me actually doing that. I could have just used a brave attack on both cases, and here I could have used Toy Soldier instead of the Mog Dance, and I would have done another chase sequence here if I did that. However, I was lucky enough to get a chase either way, so that was okay. But still, the preferred scenario was for me to actually have 3 max brave HP attack during a chase. So once you have the Cavalier down by itself, you do have to remember that the Cavalier actually has 2 different stances. Basically the Power Surge, and I do believe the Knight's Oath is the other one. Power Surge basically is more offensive, so you just have to be careful with the Quadruple and the Thrust Torrent. These are all heavy melee attacks. If you have a tank, I suppose it's not that bad, but here is the kicker. That blind saved this fight. Basically, I would have lost there. I would have had to reset this fight, and you know, give it another go. And probably I would have cleaned up a lot better if I redid this fight, but I was lucky enough with that dodge. And basically the aim for this fight is trying to get less than 60 turns, I believe, maybe in the low 50s. I think you should get your 170,000 points. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but with 40 plus turns you should be able to get over 200,000 and you should get all the rewards. And congratulations if you finish this fight. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I'd like to hear from you guys what you think of this fight and which characters did you use to get the 170,000 points. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.